Live on tape via the Miracle satellite hookup, it's the Season 8 BATTY Awards, coast to coast. Expect the best in fashion, hair, facial hair, non-humans, and even more. Hey, with the devil around, expect the unexpected. Plus, Hal Linden pays respect to Alex Trebek with a 15-minute song in the form of a question. All that and more on the Season 8 BATTY Awards, coast to coast. Battle of the Network shows. Join Rick Brooks and Mike Kogel as they explore the TV of the 70s and 80s through hand-picked episodes of their favorite and not-so-favorite series.
Welcome to the Season 8 BATTY Awards on Battle of the Network shows. I'm Mike.
And I'm Rick. Hello, everyone.
And this time we're broadcasting from two special locations, our coast-to-coast broadcast. I'm coming to you from the Stratford Inn in Vermont, and, a small audience, of course. A couple of guys from Boston actually came down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm hoping, one of them seems a little talky. I'm hoping he doesn't interrupt too much, but, good to see them. They've got their beers and they're ready to go. And you're all out on the West Coast.
Yeah, I'm out at the Brady residence, actually, out here in beautiful California.
They actually wouldn't let me come out there because of my comments in our Brady Bunch episode about the look of their house.
Well, they told me that there was always room for one more when I came out there, and Alice even set a plate for me at dinner last night. So I've been out here a couple of days to get acclimated, and so I don't know what's going on, but I'll try to put in a good word for you if I can here.
Have you seen Sam the Butcher?
I've not seen him yet.
Oh.
He's been talked about, though. So maybe he'll make an appearance. Sometimes it's hit or miss whether he'll show up or not. But
right. Yeah, well, speaking of food, I did have a delicious meal of mystery meat at the Minuteman Cafe last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Delicious, you say?
Well, it was last night. We don't need to talk about this morning. But, the service was great. One of the servers maybe talked a little too much and the others didn't at all. So it was nice.
It sounds like we might have some incentive to keep the baddies to a reasonable length this year.
Yeah.
There's been talk about that sometimes, but we've got a packed show, and let's just hope this bi-coastal experiment works out. What I see as a model for us is when Tom Snyder and Rona Barrett were doing Tomorrow I think they were doing that from opposite coast too. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, that makes you Rona Barrett.
Well, I will take that with dignity and pride, and I'll just hope to get all our listeners the real scoop of what's going on out here. And if I get any backstage gossip for the baddies, I'll try to report it as the night goes on.
All right, Rona.
Yeah.
That's my Tom Snyder.
That's very good. Yes.
As Rob Brydon would say, I'm doing Tom Snyder.
Yeah, and I could tell you were speaking to me, but it seemed like in some strange way you were directing it to like a cameraman or a grip off stage or off camera too.
I was actually trying to move my eyebrows around. And look very concerned. I watched. There's that YouTube clip of him with the Little Rascals. Mm-hmm. Which was that in our playlist?
I believe I put that in the playlist.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I enjoyed how serious he looked in that. But anyway, Tom Snyder as seasons go. We should get going here. Just to refresh listeners' minds or let new listeners know, the BATTY Awards, we award in various categories to actors, characters, shows, episodes, songs, everything that we discussed during the season, so season 8 in this case. We are not awarding ourselves.
No, we are not rewarding ourselves, although we do look at this as an opportunity to celebrate the season along with our listeners, to celebrate the stuff that we've talked about, and hopefully everybody had a good time, and kind of a capstone to our season 8, if you will. It's kind of a little tradition we've got going on is we have some listener-voted awards, and just to remind everybody, if you'd like to participate in future baddies voting and suggest show ideas and just have some good conversation about 70s and 80s TV, go to our Facebook page at Battle of the Network shows there, and you can join the group. Very easy to join. And so we've got 2 awards tonight that our listeners voted on. And this first one is Outstanding Fashion Display. So I'll read the nominees. Before I do, I just want to mention that I am proudly wearing my blue and white Batty Mania t-shirt that friend of the show, James, sent me. And I think it's really helped me get in the Batty spirit here. So that's my own personal fashion display that I'm proud of, but I'm not eligible for the award because we are celebrating the TV that we talked about, as Mike said. So, without further ado, the nominees for Outstanding Fashion Display, as voted on by you, the listeners, are the Bradys from the Brady Bunch, Evel Knievel from Wide World of Sports, Leonard Nimoy as Dr. Barry Mayfield from Columbo, and Bill and Pam's matching red plaid shirts and black pants combo from Greatest American Hero, and finally, the Women's Fashion Show from the Night of 100 Stars extravaganza. So those are the nominees, and Mike, I believe you have the results ready.
I do, and it's a runaway success for the Bradys.
Wow.
It's exciting. You can hand the award directly to them.
It's a weird thing. I have the house to myself right now.
Oh.
It's usually been very loud in here, but I think Mike is at work. You know, he does a lot of weekend work, and he's out of the den. Carol, I think, is at a PTA meeting, and I'm not sure where the kids are yet. I think Alice might be around here. I'll see if I can track her down. She had maybe the most consistent fashion display in the entire series, but I'm sure she wouldn't mind accepting the award.
Just a reminder, since you are there alone, or more or less alone, don't throw balls in the house.
Really? I mean, I've kind of had an urge since I've been here to play ball in the house. So I was kind of, upstairs hanging out with the guys, and there's a nice. They just got a new Spalding basketball, and I was just thinking how much fun it would be in this big house. There's plenty of room. What could possibly go wrong?
I mean, I can see there's that big. If you move those couches out of the way or whatever, got that big square dancing area downstairs, and
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. It's just to be on the safe side, because they've got all the beautiful things and some nice things. What I might do is I might just go upstairs and play with it up there.
Oh yeah, sure, okay.
Because that's totally safe to throw around a ball upstairs, and especially in a bedroom or something like that.
Right. Yeah. So, who would you have voted for in this category, do you think?
As much as I like the Bradys, I personally, I don't want to read the minds of the electorate here, but
No.
I'm thinking this might be a career achievement for the Bradys, because in that particular episode, not a lot stood out to me. I would have voted for Bill and Pam's matching outfits, and just the fact that their shirts were so similar cracked me up. So that would have been my vote.
I might have too. Just I think that's my aesthetic a little bit anyway. But and I thought especially Pam wore that well.
You think she wore it better than Bill?
Well, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
He did fine too. It suited him, but she made it look stylish. Right. She made something that really wasn't stylish look stylish. And my thoughts on some of the Brady fashions are already documented. Also, I would never wear what Barry Mayfield wore, Leonard Nimoy, but he was styling for his time. His turtlenecks and his murder gloves and his striped suit.
Ooh, I forgot about the murder gloves. I'm glad you mentioned that. It was a great accessory.
But unfortunately, Bill and Pam and the Women's Fashion Show didn't rate any votes.
Well, the Women's Fashion Show might have been a little overwhelming for people.
Yes. Or there might have been one dress or something in there that would have, been worthy.
Or perhaps there was just so much great fashion on display that it was hard to really narrow down and and grasp it. So
right. Yeah.
I can't criticize the Bradys, and I think my favorite piece of fashion as I look back was Bobby. I think Bobby had some pretty sweet striped pants in that. So even though some of the other Brady men, some of their outfits were a little pedestrian, relatively speaking, how can you go against the Bradys for fashion? So even though I wouldn't necessarily vote for that way, I'm proud of the listeners, and I think they did a good job on this one.
Yes, and thank you, as always, listeners, for that. Okay, moving on to our next category, and this is one we always like to include if we can, and this is for Outstanding Youth, and the nominees are Huey, Dewey, and Louie from DuckTales, Bobby Brady from the Brady Bunch, Spanky from the Little Rascals Christmas Special, Alfalfa from the Little Rascals Christmas Special, Stymie from the Little Rascals Christmas Special, Ricky Schroeder from Night of 100 Stars, and Allison Annie Smith from Night of 100 Stars.
All right, Mike, maybe you should explain briefly the timer. Is the timer going to be in effect here?
Yep.
Just so people know that the first award was chosen by the listeners, but generally we have a collaborative process, and we determine the awards on the air after the blue ribbon nominating panel, of course, gives us all the candidates, and then from that esteemed list, we choose the award.
Timer is for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Start it now.
Well, let me begin here with my initial thoughts, if you will. Big category for the Little Rascals. I'm kind of impressed. It was kind of a sleeper show. They kind of snuck up on people, I think, being our holiday special, kind of at the end of the year. But Alfalfa and Stymie, I don't know. I think I'd go with Spanky if I went with anybody. But they might be hurting each other a little bit there. Huey, Louie, and Dewey, it's hard not to consider them as a unit too. I think our Blue Ribbon Commission has treated them, has asked us to consider them as a trio in this case. Bobby gave a standout performance in the Brady Bunch. Ricky Schroeder helped with the magic trick. Or I'm sorry, Allison Smith, aka Annie, was one of the many great performers on Night of the 100 Stars. Personally, I think she's just one of the thankful just to be here. I would probably eliminate her because it doesn't stand out as much. It's hard in a 3-hour show for anybody to stand out. And I just don't think she compares with all that big star power. I would probably eliminate Ricky Schroeder too.
Yeah. She was in the Broadway medley sort of thing.
Yes.
So she sang a little bit of like Tomorrow or something.
Right.
I like her as an adult actress, but I never liked that song.
Ooh.
Like I found that song grating as a kid.
Ooh.
And yeah, and Ricky Schroeder was, he was there.
He was there, yes.
He did fine in the Doug Henning magical adventure thing there.
I think you said he did fine, but he wasn't carrying the segment.
No, I think Doug Henning and Florence Henderson were carrying that segment.
He had a nice little wide-eyed naivete, which is good for a magic routine, but didn't stand out enough to me.
Yeah,
I don't...
and had his composure, although he was on the stage of Radio City Music Hall in front of all these rich people. So
yeah, he's a pro, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I don't think I can give it to him right now.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point about the Rascals. Like, I think if they were listed as a collective, like the whole gang, I might be more inclined to give them some more credit. But none of the individuals stood out. Like, I don't know.
I think for me, Alfalfa stood out for negative reasons because his singing was so terrible.
Right.
Stymie seemed to distinguish himself most in the food preparation. Spanky maybe was the general kind of driving the plot of the show a little bit.
Yeah.
And he was good, but I don't know.
I would, for me, it's between Bobby or the Ducks.
I think so. And the dilemma I have here is that with Huey, Louie, and Dewey, I pointed out my disdain for them when we talked about DuckTales. Right. I was able to overcome that somewhat here, but I think also the episode we talked about was more of a Scrooge episode than a Huey, Louie, Dewey episode. They were mostly just asking questions and kind of prompting Scrooge to tell the story.
Yeah, one might even suggest that the nominee should have been a young Scrooge.
Ooh, yeah, one might suggest that. Are you in good terms with the Blue Ribbon Committee right now? I'll let you suggest that.
They're a prickly lot. So.
Yeah. Well, plus. I got to admit to a little bias here, and maybe it's anti-duck bias, but also, like, last night I had the privilege of sleeping in Bobby's bed.
Oh, yeah.
Greg was up in the attic, and, they kind of brought down the spare bed a little bit, and, so I was Peter was up on top, so that was really generous of him. He didn't have to do that. I could have he could have made me sleep out in the doghouse where Tiger used to be, so I really appreciated having a warm bed last night. So maybe that's influencing me a little bit, but I'm kind of leaning Bobby Brady on this one.
I am too. I mean, he was a stinker in that episode, but he was the center of everything that happened there, and he did his job.
A strong mix of bravado, childish ingenuity, all kinds of things. He brought his A game in that episode.
Lack of understanding about the relations between young men and young women.
Yes, and as you point, he had an arc. He saw the error of his ways at the end, and even made a substandard joke at the end of the episode too. Talking about the lessons he learned,
and he figured out a way to take the raging ego that had been let loose and bury it again until next season.
Right.
And it's sure to come out again. But,
exactly.
The Napoleon complex inside. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bobby Brady's the standout here.
Yeah, it was his year, and okay, well, wow, that's 2 for 2 for the Bradys.
Wow, yeah, they're cleaning up right now.
I got to find one of them because I'm sure they think this is neato.
Yeah. All right.
All right, we'll move on now to another great traditional baddie category. This is Outstanding Performance as Oneself. And this is a way we talk about the people that they weren't playing a role per se, but they appeared in something we talked about just as themselves. And we've got a big list here, so I'm going to get right to the nominees. We have Mike Wallace from 60 Minutes. Ed Bradley, also from 60 Minutes. Morley Safer from 60 Minutes. Patrick Litchfield from 60 Minutes. Andy Rooney, also from 60 Minutes. And we have Evel Knievel and Jim Mckay from Wide World of Sports. James Coburn from Darkroom. And from Night of 100 Stars, we have Hal Linden and Liza Minnelli. This is one of the biggest list of nominees I've ever seen in a category, Mike.
Yeah, that's kind of a little overstuffed, possibly, but I
One
understand.
might say that. One might say that.
Especially with 60 Minutes, how can you only nominate, say, Mike Wallace when you've got Ed Bradley and Morley Seifert there too, and Andy Rooney? Boy, if I would eliminate Patrick Litchfield, the guest on 60 Minutes.
Yes, a photographer who had some kind of royal title connection.
Yes, it was the fifth Earl of Litchfield, actually, I think.
Yes. So he was the subject of a Morley Seifert profile in that episode that we discussed.
Yes, and he was an entertaining sort of fellow. But I don't know, where are we getting the real Patrick Litchfield? I don't know if anyone ever got the real Patrick Litchfield.
Excellent point.
Patrick Litchfield isn't even his real name.
That's another good point. And this is as oneself.
Yes, not as the persona one has taken on since the 1960s. James Coburn, I'm on the record as liking James Coburn, but there was the weird question on Darkroom. Was he playing himself? Was he just being himself? Was he playing a photographer?
Was he playing Lee Marvin?
Right.
I think we can rule that one out, but I grappled with that one.
Was he playing checkers? No, wait. So I think, at risk of possibly him coming and beating me up, I would eliminate James Coburn.
I'll go along with that.
And then I'm leaving the 60 Minutes guys in reserve. I don't know. Al Linden was great on Night of 100 Stars. Now I think he will have a chance to participate in another category later. And Liza Minnelli was great. I mean, she was very Liza, and she blew the roof off the dump twice. 3 times if you count the fact that New York seemed to end and then it started again.
Right. How about Evel Knievel?
Well, I guess he was himself. He was certainly more himself than he was when he played himself in movies.
Yeah, that's true.
He certainly did some spectacular things. I don't know if I'd eliminate him yet, but then we got to start eliminating other people somewhere. And then there's Jim Mckay, who's a great broadcast. We have a lot of broadcasters here.
Yeah, and in this particular one, we kind of combined Evel's career retrospective with the 25th anniversary of Wide World of Sports. So this wasn't traditionally Jim McKay's role, but I think he was fine as an MC for a night celebrating, much like the Baddies here. He would have been a great Baddies host, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
However, I can't see myself voting for Jim McKay over Evel Knievel if we were going to consider Wide World of Sports. So I would probably eliminate him too, because it wasn't really his... He was fine as himself, but just not enough to win this one, I think.
Yeah, okay, so we've eliminated, which only leaves us with 10.
Well... I think that 60 Minutes has such a strong showing here, partly because I think the Blue Ribbon Committee is recognizing the intense 60 Minutes fandom that manifests itself in, response to our podcast and, the golden years of 60 Minutes. I mean, it's crazy, all the fanfic and the merchandise out there. So I think they, like you said, they might have gone a little over the top in including almost everybody from that episode.
Yeah.
I think maybe there were a couple people in that small town Alabama that didn't get nominated, but I would eliminate everybody from 60 Minutes, actually. Mike Wallace, to me, was the only one who really stood out.
Really?
And part of that was because I liked the scenes of him in his office with all the papers lying around.
Which was phony. Or possibly phony. And don't forget him getting files at the file office.
Yeah, well, the file office.
Yes.
Yes.
The downtown federal file building.
Yeah. Have you ever gone down there, the file building in D.C.? It's beautiful. They do a great tour.
They really do. It's, if you want to see filing cabinets, wow.
Yeah.
They've got all kinds, too, from, they have actually a whole gallery of filing cabinets through the years.
I think I missed that one, but a couple years ago I did see when they had the temporary exhibit on alphabetization.
Oh.
Which was great. I mean, it rivaled the card catalog exhibition I saw at the Library of Congress a couple of years ago.
Was the alphabetization one, did that have a hands-on component?
It did. You could just dive right in there and, and I'm pretty sure that there were official government files that I was going through, too. I may have walked off with a few, actually, but
hey.
They kind of encourage you to take free samples.
Oh, yeah. In the file cabinet exhibit, they had interactive things. Not only could you open drawers, but they had some of those ones that, the space-saving ones, where you, turn a crank.
Oh.
It just opens a one aisle. Wow. And they had those set up so you could turn cranks.
Oh, I wish I'd seen that.
Yeah, that was something.
Well, I got to put that in my bucket list if it's still there.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Can I tell you who my initial favorite when I saw this list was Hal Linden,
Okay.
because he was so good. It was stepping a little bit outside him, but outside what we'd see on Barney Miller. But he's a multi-talented star of stage and screen,
Mm-hmm.
and he really carried a long segment
Did.
by being sort of an MC and kind of a lead singer. With me, it was between Hal Linden and Evel Knievel, but I could certainly consider others, and even the 60 Minutes gang. But and Liza, I don't know. Liza was good as herself, but I almost had a little too much Liza in that Night of 100 Stars.
Well, I would make a mild case for Morley Safer, just because I like Morley Safer.
Yeah.
Because he was pleasantly bemused by everything. But if it's between, I think they're all canceling each other out though.
That's a sad reality of the baddies sometimes. That does happen.
So we have motorcycle jumping and the entertainment value that goes along, because Evel Knievel was an entertainer, not just an athlete or a stuntman, whatever you want to call him. He could put that together. And then we have Hal Linden, as you said, he does hold that very long sequence together. And Liza, who I've already complimented.
Here's one other thing I'll say is, in defense of Evel,
Yes.
one way I look at it is Hal Linden took something very difficult and made it look easy.
Mm-hmm.
Evel Knievel took something very difficult and made it look like he was dying. He was he was going to be killed.
Mm-hmm.
And in a strange way, I kind of give him credit for that, actually. A little bit more credit.
I mean, Hal Linden could have died up there. Not literally, but
I think
that segment could have died.
it could have. It could have. He had a lot of help up there too, though.
He did. He did have a lot of help. I mean, and Evel has had some help behind the scenes with his.
But when he's out on the bike,
team.
and when he's in the air,
they made that point. It's a guy on his bike, and that's it.
Well, Hal Linden had the likes of
John Schneider,
and Nancy Dussault, and Evel Knievel had Frank Gifford.
Yeah.
So you can draw your own conclusions there. I'm kind of talking myself a little bit into Evel Knievel, but I think part of it's just I like the idea of celebrating him because I had so much fun talking about him. But
yeah, I think you're talking me into it too.
An exaggerated version of himself, but a version that he maintained for years, keeping up that persona.
And he could show a little bit of his vulnerability and his nervousness and things before and after these jumps. So I can go with Evel Knievel.
Okay, I think let's do it. Evel Knievel.
All right.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Okay, our next category is new, and possibly this is the only time we'll be doing this. It just happened to work out this way. I guess we're going to read these together, huh? So this category, 2 awards here for Outstanding Rick and Outstanding Mike.
Hey.
Yeah. Oddly, we're not on the list.
No, that's a little disappointing.
That prickly committee again.
You did say we weren't celebrating ourselves, and I guess
true.
They took us literally on that.
Yeah. So in the Rick category, Rick Tucker from Tucker's Witch, played by Art Hindle, Rick Tucker from Tucker's Witch, played by Tim Matheson, and Dick Loudon from Newhart. In the Mike category, Mike Brady from the Brady Bunch, Mike Wallace from 60 Minutes, and Michael Harris from Newhart.
Another great group.
Yeah.
I feel quite a kinship with a lot of these guys.
So I guess we'll start with the Ricks.
Well, if you insist.
Yeah.
Well, we had two very different Rick Tuckers, played by 2 different performers.
Right.
We had Hindlemania kind of overtake us for a while there.
We did have Hindlemania, and yet we were very clear that we thought Tim Matheson did the better job of the 2.
Yeah, he was the better as the lead in the show. Yes. Now, does it necessarily follow that he's the more outstanding Rick?
Well, I think you would be the expert there.
Well, my initial thinking is, as much as I like the character of Dick Loudon, he's a classic Dick. I mean, he just seems like a Dick. I mean,
right.
Just like salt of the earth.
Right, not a Richard, not a Rick.
Exactly. Whereas, to me, when I think of a Rick, I think of a little bit more, maybe a little hipper, charming, more maybe broader-based appeal, more contemporary. So for me, I would probably go with Tim Matheson over Art Hindle.
Yeah.
I think Tim Matheson was just a more universally likable Rick. And I don't want to say it takes one to know one, but that's just my opinion that I'm sharing here. So Matheson stands out to me.
Yeah, I think me too. As much as I like Bob Newhart's performance as Dick Loudon, you make a point. It's a different kind of person. And between the 2 Rick Tuckers, I would rather hang out with Tim Matheson, Rick Tucker. I think he would make me feel better about myself. Art Hindle, Rick Tucker, he might look down on me a little bit.
possible.
He seemed a little, with his wife, he seemed a little smug sometimes.
He was a little edgier.
Yeah. I don't know if he didn't look like he had as much fun while taking his job seriously. And, that suggests to me, Rick, being able to enjoy the absurdities of your job and have a good time at your job, even when you have to take it seriously.
Why, thank you.
Yes.
I think that's very well said.
So I think we're agreed there, right?
Yeah, I think this is Tim Matheson, Rick Tucker is the outstanding Rick. I agree with that.
Now we have the Mike Brady, Mike Wallace, and Michael Harris.
Yeah, what do you think about these ones?
Well, Michael Harris, he might be the reason I decided to start going by Mike instead of Michael.
Really?
I don't think so, no. I'm not sure he gives Michael a good name.
Okay. Yeah.
He's definitely, like you said, he's not a Mike. He's definitely not grounded. I think Mikes are grounded too.
I think so.
Good solid name and thoughtful and considerate of others. I don't
That's
think
right.
Michael Harris he's considerate of Stephanie, but he's not considerate of anyone else. So, and you have Mike Brady and Mike Wallace. And I think they're both solid Mikes in different ways. Mike Brady is calm and he's fair with his kids. He always follows the rules of a bet and gives solid advice. And he loves his wife and he loves his family and he treats his housekeeper well.
Mm-hmm.
And he's smart. He's an architect. I mean, sure, he makes some weird hair choices, but what are you going to do? It was the 70s.
True, and he's practical, but also capable of enjoying himself, too.
Yes, he can go to a hoedown or any number of family events and have a good time.
And can engage in a little playful gamesmanship with his wife.
That's true.
A bet. Yeah. I think those are all admirable qualities.
Yeah. Mike Wallace, of course, is a fierce defender of the truth. And he goes and seeks it out, and he keeps a messy office, and he speaks truth to power sometimes, which are all admirable qualities, too.
Yeah, I see there as being, since Mike became a thing from Michael, almost two strains of Mike, and Mike Wallace is kind of representing the more aggressive strain of Mike, the Mike Hammer, the more hard-boiled Mike.
Right. and Mike Brady is the soft-boiled Mike.
I don't know. Can we get Hugh Downs here to sell this? You might have to ask him on that one. I wouldn't know.
Yeah. So, to me, I guess, which Mike would I aspire to be? And I think maybe a Mike Brady rather than a Mike Wallace. I admire Mike Wallace and what he did with his work, but it seems like you have to be a little bit more cynical than I'd like to be a Mike Wallace. So I would throw my vote at Mike Brady.
I certainly defer to you, and let me say this, and I hope I don't need to add this qualifier, but I mean this as a compliment. Mike, as far as I'm concerned, you don't need to aspire to be like Mike Brady. In many ways, you already are like Mike Brady.
Oh, okay.
I do mean that as a compliment.
I need a wife, a housekeeper, and 6 kids. And a dog.
Maybe some modifications with the hair, but I think you followed your own path that way.
Yeah, I could probably get close to that hair if I needed to. So we're going Matheson and Mike Brady, right?
Yeah, and what a pair those two would make.
Oh, yeah.
And Tim Matheson actually was in one of the Brady movies, was he not?
Oh, yeah, he was the heel, I think.
Well, not to give anything away, but he was a figure from Carol Brady's past.
Oh, okay.
So yes, you're right, but he had some conflict with Gary Cole, Mike Brady. I didn't realize this until just now, but what a duo we've got here. And I really need to kind of call the Bradys together. I think Alice has a bell or something I can ring because they're missing out.
I know.
Mike, you did mention something about the checkers, and that reminded me that, some places they'll have their fancy baddies parties, but I know, here in the Brady household, there's a pretty hot checkers match scheduled between Bobby and Cindy for later tonight. So I think that's going to be my post-baddies activity here. I'm looking forward to that.
I hope Bobby doesn't let his win go to his head when he's playing checkers.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Well, we're going to find out right away. I'll be trying to be in the background, but I'll be keeping an eye out for that. I'm curious about that.
Nothing's more dangerous in checkers than overconfidence.
Oh, of course not. No, you really have to be grounded to play checkers.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next category, I think.
One of our favorite categories, outstanding hair. And I will mention that we consider both sexes and genders in this category each year. And as usual, we have a mix this time. All types of hairstyles and hair types. And the nominees are Mike Brady from the Brady Bunch, Greg Brady from the Brady Bunch, Connie Selica from Greatest American Hero, William Catt, also from The Greatest American Hero, and, interesting choice here, Jack Klugman from Poor Devil. What do you think here, Mike?
Well, let me start the timer. And let's talk about the Klugger first. You think he's being awarded for the bravery of not wearing his hairpiece?
I think that's part of it. Around this time you so rarely saw him without the hairpiece that it really stood out to see him as he was in Poor Devil.
Yeah.
One of those things. It's almost like a degree of difficulty thing. I think going with
Right.
his real look.
Yeah. I'm not sure I could call that outstanding hair, though. I mean, based on the normal sort of way we would look at that. Like, you wouldn't, if he walked by, you wouldn't say, well, there's a good head of hair.
Yeah, his hair is totally context dependent in this case.
Yes. As far as the Bradys go, I believe we talked about it. They were sort of in a transitional period, right? Between the early short hair look and the later curly hair look.
Correct. The episode we did was, I think, season 3, almost smack dab in the middle of the series.
Yeah.
So, yeah, transition is a perfect way to describe it.
I think maybe Greg's hair was already getting long, but Mike's definitely, he was not in his full curly hair mode.
Yeah, I think Mike was more distinguished by some sideburns at this point as part of his transition. So, yeah,
Yes.
you're spot on with that.
William Cat, of course, has the golden curl look, and then Connie Selica, the long black tresses. And thick. There was a point where I don't think we talked about this in the episode, but when Ralph was magnetized and her hairpins flew out.
Ooh.
And you really saw her, she was containing a lot of hair with those hairpins. So that was interesting. I would probably eliminate the Clugger. I admire his bravery, and I would eliminate Mike Brady since he's not full out Mike Brady yet.
Yep, yeah.
And I think I would eliminate William Cat. This question is, not that that matters, but is it a natural look? Is it a 70s look or 80s look? I don't know. I mean, it's definitely, I identify it with that character. It's part of his silhouette, if you will.
Yeah, I loved his hair, but it wasn't aspirational for me growing up, and it certainly is iconic.
Yeah.
But I would be willing to eliminate him as well. And I think the Clugger would get, if this were like maybe most inspirational hair, but outstanding hair, I think your reasoning was solid on that. So I'm fine with eliminating all the ones you mentioned.
So that leaves us with Greg Brady and Connie Selica / Pam from Greatest American Hero.
I'm looking at a picture of Greg right now from the episode, and this was maybe one of the only times in my life I've chosen to look at a picture of Greg Brady over a picture of Connie Selica. But I want to make sure I'm making this in the right frame of mind. But I think the fact that I can imagine, Pam Davidson, Connie Selica's hair without having to do the research says something right there. Greg, it was a little thicker, but again, not quite peak Greg Brady hair.
Yeah.
That has a lot of sway with me in this category.
Yeah. Man, look at Greg Brady's hair, and I like my hair, but I think I could accomplish Greg Brady hair. And I guess that's not as exciting to me. or as unique to me as Connie Selica.
Right.
And I think her, her hair is, along with her acting and many other things, one of her defining features.
I like how you brought that in there. That was very good.
Thanks. Didn't she used to do some hair commercials of some kind?
I'm kind of thinking here. I want to say like a Pantene commercial.
Yeah.
She must have. She would have been perfect for it.
I think so, yeah.
Which is itself telling. Greg's hair is groovy, but not quite as groovy as it could have been. I think there's the theory that maybe we even talked about that the Bradys were like several years behind, like in fashions and hair. And that might hurt Greg in this category, whereas Connie Selica has a timeless look, just timeless Greg hair in this one.
Right, and again, she was particularly dressed down in this episode, too. We already mentioned the flannel shirt and black pants outfit.
Which, the more I think about it, you mentioned the good showcase scene for her hair that she had. And that and the look, I mean, this may have been like, the whole episode might have been designed partly to, display Connie Selica's hair. But you still have to go out there and your hair still has to execute. Even if the game plan is set up for you to succeed, you still have to go out there and perform. And I think Connie Selica's hair really did in this instance.
Yeah, and it survived running from a monster and a couple days in a car with annoying guys and riding a horse.
Yeah, and who knows what the water pressure was like in that shower at the hotel, too.
I don't even know if she got to use it.
I don't which could be, it could be fatal for a good head of hair like that, at least temporarily so. But
yeah.
She proved otherwise.
Yeah, I say we give it to her.
Good call. I agree with that one.
All right. Moving along here. And the next category, I think I've said before, is my favorite category. And one possibly unique to our show. And this is outstanding facial hair. 70s and 80s were full of facial hair. And this season, we had a little less than normal. But, the Night of 100 Stars helped us out. So, the nominees are Doug Henning, Night of 100 Stars. Lionel Richie, Night of 100 Stars. Jose Ferrer, Newhart. Santa Claus, The Little Rascals Christmas Special. and Andy Rooney on 60 Minutes for his eyebrows.
Ugh. We've had some discussion before about whether eyebrows should be considered as facial hair.
Yeah,
It's caused some controversy in the past.
I'm generally sort of against that. Like, I mean, one season we had his eyebrow category all its own with the aforementioned Tom Snyder.
That was a glorious season.
I think he was the winner, right?
I believe he was, yes.
Yeah, but that's not always the case. And certainly, if anyone deserves being in this category for eyebrows, Andy Rooney fits the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the classic eyebrows of TV, and they're part of his. They add to his expressiveness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can see it personally. It doesn't fit for me, but for now, I guess we can leave him. Santa Claus. That's a Santa Claus beard. We never get any indication whether it's a real Santa Claus beard or a fake one, but that Santa Claus, he wears it well. He's a convincing Santa Claus, I think, other than being kind of a grump. Jose Ferrer had a kind of a dashing rich guy mustache, and it worked well for his character. Is it really Jose Ferrer's mustache? We don't know. But I guess since we don't know, we can leave it there. Lionel Richie has a literal Hall of Fame mustache. And
a literal Hall of Fame mustache.
Yeah, there's a mustache Hall of Fame. And
that's right, yes.
He and Tom Selleck were inducted in the same year.
Ooh, I'm glad you reminded me of that.
Yeah, and I believe this summer I saw a clip of him, maybe on Jimmy Kimmel, explaining his, mustache grooming habits.
Mm.
And then Doug Henning had, I would say, an iconic mustache. Part of his look, his long hair and his big kind of droopy mustache. So going back through, I think I would personally eliminate Andy Rooney and Santa Claus.
I agree. It's tough for any set of eyebrows to compete in the facial hair category. So the deck was kind of stacked against him. I'm not sorry that he was nominated, but I would eliminate him too. And Santa Claus, some ambiguity. Partly the fact that it was animated maybe didn't help him, but it didn't really stand out too much. I would have liked to have seen maybe a more unique Santa Claus type beard that maybe would have alleviated any concerns I had about whether it was real or fake.
Yeah. Now, I'll take this moment too to say possibly the committee missed Sammy Davis Jr., who, always had an interesting facial hair look.
Yeah, and he could have been nominated for Poor Devil and Night of 100 Stars, or one or the other.
But he wasn't, so...
Yeah, we can only deal with what we have in front of us.
That's right. So it's down to 3 mustaches, and...
Growing up, Doug Hennig had an iconic mustache for me. I mean, it was almost like his mustache was wonderment itself, like the embodiment of the spirit of magic.
Yes, I wonder if he could have done magic without it.
Or do you think his mustache was magically enhanced? Is it possible that there was some collective illusion that made the mustache appear that way to all of us viewers?
You saying maybe he didn't even have one?
Well, I'm not saying. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah.
I'm just asking questions.
It could be. Now, we've talked about bionic mustaches before. Magical mustache. Oh, I don't know. I got to say, though, despite being an admitted Lionel Richie fan, I'm leaning Doug Henning.
Whoa.
I just think it's Lionel Richie. I think of the music first when I think of him, and then I think of the mustache and the afro.
Wow.
And the smile. I think and he really has. I don't think he's gone without the mustache ever. Not that I can think of. I'm sure at some point in his life he did, but not in his public life.
I think I would eliminate Jose Ferrer. It was a good, solid, dependable old guy mustache, but not enough to overcome the other two. One thing I will say in favor of Lionel Richie. This is the baddies, and I think it's time to introduce this concept here. Lionel Richie was playing piano.
Yeah. A
musician in New York City in the early 80s. He had been backstage, yet when he came out, that mustache was totally untainted by foreign substances of any kind. Wow. Am I right? It was a totally clean mustache, unsullied by anything that might have been going around as musicians hanging out in the 1980s. And I give him credit for that. To me, he came out with an impeccable mustache in a situation that might have presented a less than a peccable mustache. So to me, that is in favor. But I'm going to defer to you, though, because Doug Hennig...
He was backstage, too.
He was.
And I didn't see any substances in his. I'm doing some image searches here too.
I'm not sure Doug Hennig. You think Doug Hennig was known for his ability to make certain substances disappear in a short period of time?
I don't know. He might have possible he preferred image substances that you more inhaled, if you catch my drift.
Yes, I do. I prefer not to think of that. I kind of think Doug Hennig, like, he should have been endorsing, like, Nestle's Quick or something like that. That kind of substance. I did want to point out that I thought Lionel Richie's mustache performed well under the circumstances, but to me, it's one of those two, and I would kind of defer to you on this one.
Yeah, I feel like it's. I mean, I feel bad, a little bit of betrayal, but I'm not sure if Doug Henning, if he didn't have the mustache, he might not seem magical.
It's quite possible. I don't remember seeing him without it. To me, the fact that you're willing to give someone a baddie over Lionel Richie
Uh-huh.
after 8 seasons of doing this,
Yeah.
that says a lot to me. I respect that.
Well,
That says a lot about Doug Henning's mustache.
yeah, that's my vote.
I'll
I'm
go
gonna have
along
to
with
live
that.
with it. I'm sorry, Lionel. Maybe you'll get a chance in another category.
That's possible. That's quite possible.
Yeah.
Well, that category just goes to show that we have to make really tough choices here sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
It's intensely personal sometimes.
I'm sort of reeling right now.
Yeah.
Good
Well,
thing you're reading the next category.
yeah. I'll tell you what. While you're recovering, let me take us into the next category, and we've actually have two similar categories coming up, but we're treating them as separate categories. We could sort of combine them, but we've got outstanding heel. And I'll go ahead and say that we're just distinguishing this from outstanding villain. And you'll see once we get into the nominees here, but I think a heel is more somebody who's kind of an obstacle, but not necessarily as purely evil as an outright villain. There's a little bit more variety in the types of heels you come across. We'll talk about that more, I'm sure, as we get into these. But for the outstanding heel, we have Gino Conforti in Poor Devil, Adam West in Poor Devil, Old Man Ribbit in DuckTales, Bobby Brady from the Brady Bunch, of course, Tommy and DeWine from the Little Rascals Christmas special, and interestingly, Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes. So there you have it. Quite a set of heels.
I do have a question. It's Tommy and not Butch.
Oh, you know what? I think the committee might have put Tommy. I think Tommy Bond was his real name, correct?
That sounds right.
That should be Butch and DeWine.
Okay.
I don't mean to make the committee be heels, but yeah, they gave us some bum information there. I apologize on their behalf.
These things happen.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be clear, and the subcommittee on double checking those things missed that, I think, too. So
Yeah, and this goes to show what happens when the crack research team isn't involved. They
yeah.
Isn't it interesting that so often we involve the crack research team after we do the podcast?
Mm-hmm.
One time, maybe we'll try asking the crack research team to look some things up before we actually tape something. That might be an interesting way to do things.
Right. So rather than sort of like a police situation,
Yeah.
rather than solving murders after they happen, trying to prevent them from happening,
Correct.
taking a proactive stance.
Yes.
Rather
Although to be fair to us, a lot of the issues we come about through the discussion. So
that's true.
that's when we involve the crack research team. But
well, that's how a lot of murders come out too.
yeah, that's true.
I don't know what that means. Okay, so
what do you think here about this category? Are you clear on the distinctions, or
yes, yeah, I think you made that clear, and I think I was already clear. So a heel's a little bit of a nuisance, a jerk, a no good Nick, but they're not downright evil.
like Frank Burns or somebody on MASH would be a classic heel?
Right, and the Joker would be a villain.
Yes, exactly. Larry Linville would have made a great Joker, by the way. Couldn't we have gotten him in the Legends of the Superheroes to play the Joker?
Ah, that would have been good. Yeah. What? I'm going to save that for a bonus episode.
Okay.
Casting MASH actors as superheroes and supervillains.
There you go.
I mean, we know David Ogden Stier has played Martian Manhunter for some reason, but yeah.
Yes, if he were to be a villain or a heel, who would he have been?
Yeah. I think he would have been very good at being one.
Yeah.
But for this category, have I started the timer?
I don't think
Good.
think so.
Good.
Okay. Yeah.
We just killed it. I would again eliminate Andy Rooney. To me, he's just a grump. And frankly, I kind of agreed with what he was saying in this episode, so I would eliminate him. Butch and DeWine, I mean, they did steal a train, and, they eventually learned their lesson. I feel a little sympathy with them since they seem to live in an abusive home. Bobby Brady, I think he's got to be in there still. Old Man Ribbit, he's certainly a jerk. He reneged on his bet.
Yeah.
The Bradys would not approve of him. And Adam West in Port Devil, he was very good at that, I thought. That character is so unpleasant that I don't...
Very smarmy and
Smarmy,
underhanded.
came onto his employee's wife, and he
Yeah.
took
Self-centered.
that other lady's sexual assault not seriously.
Yeah.
I guess he was supposed to be a kind of a Scrooge, and he was. I don't know if he would ever reform. Yeah, Gino Conforti, he was good. As we said, a lot of Gino went a long way. A lot of Gino Conforti, not Gino, our listener.
Yeah, that's right.
So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you on eliminating Andy Rooney. I think a lot of people probably love to hate his segments.
Mm-hmm.
He probably, I think he got a lot of the viewer mail each week, partly because he was kind of a heel character. But yeah, I don't think he's quite right for this one. I agree with everything you said. As much as I'd love to give Old Man Ribbit an award because I love that character so much, I would eliminate him because it was a relatively minor piece compared to some of this other great heel work. Tommy and DeWoyne, I might have to eliminate them too. They didn't quite have the personality in the animated special as they did in the cartoons. I think part of it, a lot of the stuff was compressed there, and they didn't quite stand out as much to me in the holiday special.
I'm not sure even anyone said their names.
Yeah, I think we're kind of assuming that that's who it is.
Yeah, like just once I would have liked to hear somebody say DeWoyne.
Right.
Yeah, I'm okay with eliminating that.
Well, that leaves us with the pair from Poor Devil and Bobby Brady.
Right.
And boy, it's a tough call, but with Bobby Brady, I keep going back to that umbrella.
Uh-huh.
And just the fact that he used it and was so like, I don't know, just his behavior and that date with Greg and Sherwood Schwartz's daughter.
Yes.
Rachel, was it?
I think so.
It was just so like just rubbing it in, like, but an appropriate heel level. Somebody who's young and also taking advantage of getting one over on your sibling.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was very impressive. But and you made some good points about Adam West though, and how good he was. I'm not sure if that remember Poor Devil was originally meant as a pilot,
right?
So I think they would have had a tough time keeping our interest in Gino Conforti and Adam West, sustaining that. Now, in what we saw though, and we considered it as a TV movie, both of them excelled at what they did. I would have to go with Adam West over Gino Conforti from Poor Devil, but it's tough for me.
It's weird because I found his behavior so unpleasant. Whereas Gino Conforti, even though he was a demon.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like him, but in a way, his behavior was more recognizable. As just like a sort of snooty guy.
Yeah, it was more like corporate politics.
Yes, yeah.
Or workplace politics.
He had it in for Sammy. For no good reason, which seems very heel to me. Well, I mean, I guess he had a few reasons, but
it seemed too like Adam West got more of a comeuppance than Gino Conforti did.
Yeah, Gino didn't get any.
So
I don't think
it might have been more. I'm thinking maybe it was more satisfying for me to see the Adam West performance, knowing that he ultimately did get his comeuppance. I'm just kind of speculating there, but.
Right. And Bobby learned a lesson, as we've said.
Yes.
So for you, it's between Adam West and Bobby.
I think it is, and of course I realize now that. I guess if Poor Devil would have been a regular series, Adam West would not have returned, whereas Gino would have.
Yes.
So that was probably why they did things the way they did. Yeah, for me, it's Bobby Brady and Adam West, which is interesting because, Adam West, I don't know, he may have been nominated for a Batty earlier for playing Batman. So he's nominated for being a superhero and a heel. It's kind of weird, Mike, because I don't know if going in I would have thought that I would be favoring Bobby Brady, but I kind of am the more I think about it.
I kind of am too. I do find it odd that we're rewarding Bobby Brady for such bad behavior. He's on the verge of being a 2-time Batty winner here. Well, 3-time if we count the fashion one.
Fortunately, he's got a good support system.
Mm-hmm.
They don't happen to be here with me right now in the Brady household, but he's got a lot of people to keep him grounded. So I'm not really worried about the ramifications of giving him the award.
Okay. Since you were in his room, does he have do they have a trophy case?
They don't have a trophy case in his room. I think he's got a few things, some mementos from an eating contest he had, but they keep them in the closet. There are a couple of trophies, but I think strangely enough, I think it's Greg still keeps his trophies in that room, which seems a little bit of a shot to his brother since he's up in the attic right now. But.
Right. He's reminding them that he's still there.
Yeah, and it was very difficult for Bobby, as one episode memorably demonstrated, to get any kind of trophy at all. Mm-hmm. And of course, he failed in his effort to set a world teeter-totter record with Cindy. So maybe it's about time he gets some accomplishments. You deserve them for this.
Well, as the little brother of myself, I do feel sympathy for him.
That makes sense.
Let's go with Bobby Brady.
Okay.
And congratulations again, Bobby. And now we're going to move on to Outstanding Villain. So a villain would obviously be worse than a heel, and I think it'll be clear from some of these nominees. So we have Christopher Lee from Poor Devil for playing the devil, Ted Danson from Tucker's Witch for playing a murderer, the Space Eel from Greatest American Hero, which was a space eel and caused all sorts of mayhem, and Leonard Nimoy as Dr. Barry Mayfield on Columbo.
Well, I think these are all worthy nominees, but there's one that stands out to me above the rest. I think, for the first time tonight. But
Yeah.
let me just say a few words about some of the other ones. I think the Space Eel was hampered a little bit by the limited budget of Greatest American Hero. However, the story and the other performers, including BATTY Award-winning Connie Sellecca's hair, did a good job of getting across to us what a threat the Space Eel was. And I think there was, a scene or two with Ralph Hinckley fighting himself pretty much because the Space Eel, there wasn't as much to it. I think if the Space Eel was a little bit more visually impressive, it would be more of a contender in this category. But I would eliminate that. Christopher Lee had an interesting take on the devil in Poor Devil, but it was good. I think we both liked it. And it was kind of interesting seeing Christopher Lee in that kind of performance. And Ted Danson, of course, is one of our favorites. And it's tough to go wrong with Ted Danson. And we got to see him play the same role twice because we did the unaired pilot and the actual aired pilot of Tucker's Witch. To me, though, it comes back to Barry Mayfield, who we raved about as being one of the best villains on Columbo. Just an outstanding all-around performance, and not just his fashion, but his villainy throughout the episode. And so for me, I would lean towards Barry Mayfield. And Mike, let me give you a chance to talk about some of these villains.
Well, I pretty much agree with everything you said. And in the case of the Space Eel, I would also say it might not have been evil so much as just following its biological imperative. We don't really, it didn't seem like intentionally necessarily causing mayhem. It was just it was an alien on another planet and it needed electricity or whatever. We didn't really get into its psychology. And I'm pretty much on board with everything you said. I mean, the obvious comparison is Ted Danson and Leonard Nimoy both playing against the type that we think of them. Ted Danson really wasn't really playing against type, since in that time Sam Malone was just emerging, but in our minds, he was. And Nimoy clearly was, but I'm pretty sure I had chosen Nimoy for this category as soon as we watched that episode. Like, I don't think anyone else was going to beat him. So for me, it's definitely Leonard Nimoy as Dr. Barry Mayfield.
Christopher Lee's portrayal of the devil in this one was more akin to like an annoying boss or like a difficult boss or something, as opposed to the actual Prince of Darkness. So whereas Nimoy, man, multiple murder, and as we talked about, he made things even worse by kind of harming one of the more sympathetic characters in the episode, in addition to the first murder victim. So yeah, I don't think we can really overthink it, but it's good to give Nimoy his props. I think we got to go Barry Mayfield on this one.
Yeah, all right. We actually got through that one before the timer went off for once.
Ooh, all right, we're moving along.
Definitive.
Well, another long list here, so we might need that extra time. So I'm just going to get right to it. Another one of our traditional categories, Outstanding Non-Human. Over the years, our longtime listeners and Batty fans will know that just about anything can be included in this category, as long as it's not an actual human being. With that said, here are the nominees this year for Outstanding Non-Human. We have Uncle Scrooge from DuckTales, Huey, Louie, and Dewey from DuckTales, Old Man Ribbit, also from DuckTales, the apparent pitcher or object that Columbo slams on Leonard Nimoy's desk, aka Barry Mayfield's desk in Columbo, the aforementioned Space Eel in Greatest American Hero, also previously nominated, Satan for Poor Devil, the umbrella that we just talked about from the Brady Bunch, Petey, the dog from the Little Rascals, Dickens, the cat from Tucker's Witch, the black cat from Darkroom, and the Kraken thing, or whatever that thing was in the first segment of the Darkroom episode that we talked about with, was it Pat Buttram and David Carradine?
David Carradine.
And to make sure I got the right Carradine.
Right.
Wow, that's another epic list of nominees. So
yes.
Let's have at it.
I think we can eliminate Satan and the Space Eel pretty much for the reasons we gave in the last one.
Agreed.
Also, although I love that we nominate inanimate objects, I feel like both the pitcher and the umbrella, it's more how they get used by humans than their non-humanness. Whereas when we've done this in the past, for instance, the board that hit John Boy in the head, it was sort of acting on its own.
Yeah, that's right. It was a rogue actor.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I would also take those out.
Okay.
Which leaves us with the cats, the sea monster, lake monster thing, and the various DuckTales characters. And honestly, I think we could eliminate Huey, Dewey, and Louie and Old Man Ribbit for the same reasons we did before, which is they're not as important to the story as Uncle Scrooge.
Kills me to eliminate Old Man Ribbit again, but I agree with you.
Oh, and Petey's still there, too. Poor Old Man Ribbit. He's not getting his due.
No, he was nominated twice, though, which is pretty good, I guess, if you look at it that way.
Yeah, so I guess we've got Uncle Scrooge, Petey, Dickens, and the Black Cat and the Lake Monster. Yes. Yeah. And, that black cat was it a cat? Or was it the witch? I mean, that might suggest the witch was not human either, but depending on your mythology, sometimes witches aren't. They're considered a species. I would leave Dickens for now. The lake monster, honestly, was not. I mean, he was important to the story, but we didn't really get a sense of it other than it needed to eat people.
Right. It was more a punchline and more of an off-camera presence, so I would eliminate that as well. And I would eliminate Petey. Petey just didn't have a lot to do in the Little Rascals Christmas special.
No. I liked... They pretty much just treated him like a dog in the cartoon, right? Like, they didn't anthropomorphize him in any way.
Yeah, it wasn't like Snoopy actually preparing a Thanksgiving dinner. I think Petey did contribute maybe some bones for that dish that Stymie and the guys were cooking up, but that was the extent of it, I think.
So that leaves us with Uncle Scrooge and Dickens.
Well, we narrowed that down pretty well. Boy, I was really charmed by Uncle Scrooge in that DuckTales episode.
Me too.
He was a narrator. He had some jokes. We got to get a good kind of origin story. Excellent performance, really, I think. I kind of lean towards him.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, as far as cat actors, Dickens, Hubie, the cat who played Dickens, did a great job, and as we commented, is a beautiful cat. But Uncle Scrooge is Uncle Scrooge. And we got to see Uncle Scrooge in all those different phases of his life, and see, in the sense of the show, by the end of it, that he had already had some character development, had grown to accept his sort of family that he has now, and it wasn't just about the money.
Right.
But still happy to share in the swimming in the money pit. Maybe the money pit should have been in here.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah, I would go with Uncle Scrooge.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. Let's go Uncle Scrooge. Well deserved.
All right, so our next category is theme song with lyrics. So we're going to have two theme song categories, and the first one is the one with lyrics. And not many nominees this time, but we have the Brady Bunch theme song, the DuckTales theme song, the Greatest American Hero theme song, and the Poor Devil song that played during the end credits. And I'll let you share your thoughts first.
Well, one of my thoughts is that we have at least one member of our group who I think is is going to be very upset if DuckTales does not win. And I think Gino made that comment as soon as we did the DuckTales episode, actually.
I believe he did, and I think he's probably going to be upset.
Well, it's understandable because he was the one that suggested we cover DuckTales, and he actually gave us a good introduction to it. And I like the DuckTales theme song, but I didn't, as we mentioned, I didn't grow up watching the DuckTales show. So it doesn't have that tug for me as some of these other ones do. Poor Devil had a real kind of funky song at the end of that. But I have to admit that I didn't really remember it until I, kind of went back and looked at it after I saw that it was nominated. So I'm going to eliminate Poor Devil. Although it's cool and it's nice to mention again. And I do recommend that if you haven't seen Poor Devil, you might want to keep it that way, but at least go watch the end credits maybe. Brady Bunch is one of the most iconic songs of all time, but Greatest American Hero is a song that I seem to actually love as a song when I was growing up and when it was on. And we talked about just how good that song made us feel and what a perfect marriage it was with the credits and just setting up the show and summarizing the show. Although you could say the same thing about the Brady Bunch too. So for me, I would probably eliminate DuckTales and Poor Devil, and it would be tough between Brady Bunch and Greatest American Hero, but my lean would be Greatest American Hero for things that I'm sure we talked about a lot during our actual Greatest American Hero episode.
Well, I think we're in agreement. I might even be more effusive about Greatest American Hero, but yeah, the DuckTales song is very catchy, and I understand why it's beloved. I had to turn on the captions or look up the lyrics at least. Like, I found some of the lyrics a little confusing. The Poor Devil one, I don't quite remember, and I still don't know why Sammy didn't do it, but, I guess he was too busy acting.
That's a good point.
And, I mean, the Brady Bunch song is, it's, as a pure TV theme song, it's definitely one of the gold standards in the sense of a song that tells you about the show. On the other hand, it's not one I really want to listen to unless I'm watching the show. And maybe that's in its favor. This is a TV award. But, I mean, the Greatest American Hero song, I talked about it on the episode, but I just love. And I love it more every time I hear it.
Yeah, and before we say goodbye to the Brady Bunch, I'll point out that we actually did kind of a special episode, an addendum to our regular Brady Bunch episode, talking about the credits. And traditionally, we do consider the opening sequence as a whole, including the theme song. So that's also elevates Brady Bunch a little bit. However, I love Greatest American Hero too, and I think the only reason I didn't say more about it now is because, I do think I raved about it when we talked about it the first time. So I have no problem with going with Greatest American Hero. It's awesome.
Okay. We'll move on to the next category.
All right. Well, this is another theme song category, but this is a theme song that is an instrumental theme song. So the nominees for the Outstanding Instrumental Theme Song are Newhart, Dark Room, 60 Minutes, Tucker's Witch, Columbo, and ABC's Wide World of Sports. Interesting group here, Mike. What are some of your thoughts on this one?
Well, I mean, we have more nominees here, and yet I feel like this whole season was a little tough for theme songs. That, especially this category, there weren't a lot of great nominees, I guess. Like, I don't know, like the Columbo theme song, I couldn't tell you that. I couldn't nom you that. 60 Minutes is just a stopwatch ticking. There's not even a song.
Well, that's true. But it is catchy. You got to admit, it's tough to get out of your head once you hear it.
Well, yes, and it keeps good time.
Yeah, it was very influential because you often hear a stopwatch ticking in many other things in pop culture.
That's
So to me, I think you have to give it some credit for influence.
okay. And Darkroom, I'm only vaguely remembering the music part. It's more the weird narration and the sort of the look of the whole sequence. A Wide World of Sports, I can kind of hear that music and certainly remember the voiceover, the agony of defeat and all that. And then, Newhart is Henry Mancini, so that's a very memorable song and it gets in your head if you watch it. Tucker's Witch, I like the music there. It's kind of that slinky clarinet or whatever it is, oboe maybe, but it's not outstanding maybe. So like Columbo in 60 Minutes, I would just eliminate right off the bat.
Yeah, I'm considering Columbo kind of like it was more, I think, the broader theme for the mystery movie that they used on that, and I think it was really cool. But I would definitely eliminate it too. It's not like, yeah, it doesn't really deserve a BATTY Award. I would eliminate Wide World of Sports, but I think it would have fared better if Jim Mckay had sung about the thrill of victory and agony of defeat over the opening credits. And then it could have been considered for the theme song with lyrics. Then I think it might have had a fighting chance, but I would go ahead and eliminate that here too.
What if they had done like they did for football and gotten pop stars to do it? Like
Yeah.
Hank Williams Jr. to...
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Maybe at the time.
Are you
I guess...
ready for some skiing, basketball, boxing,
Yeah.
just a rattling off? Or Johnny Cash could have done like that I've Been Everywhere song,
Yeah.
but rattle off sports instead.
Yeah, right. Wrist wrestling, demolition derby,
Yeah. All them Globetrotters.
cliff diving from Acapulco.
That would be a shoe-in.
Yeah, I think so. But again, we've got to vote for what's in front of us and what
Yes.
actually happened, I suppose. So.
All right, yeah.
What about Darkroom? Darkroom was sort of cool, but I also think we mocked it a little bit, so
Yeah,
I think we should probably eliminate that.
yes. I think it's a Newhart, but I like both of those. I can remember Newhart more. Although I think I told you, like, when it plays in my head, sometimes it turns into the Murder, She Wrote theme. And I have to try to find it again.
Yeah, you need to anchor yourself in there somewhere.
Yeah. But it just, I mean, I don't know how much it has to do with the show. It fits the locale. It certainly doesn't set you up for it being a comedy.
It's weird. To me, like, it does and it doesn't. Like, I so associate with Newhart, but you're right. But at the same time, it somehow it seems right in a way maybe it really shouldn't. So somehow that puts it more in favor for me. And that just kind of like those aerial shots and it puts you in a certain mood. Maybe not what the show actually delivers, but it does put you in a certain mood.
I think I forgot to mention this on the episode, but I learned researching that all that footage was unused footage from On Golden Pond. And because they had tried to shoot an opening and they didn't like it. And there was just this footage, so they bought the footage and used that, and it worked. And there's at least one shot of the car, and it's actually Henry Fonda and Katharine Hepburn in the car, which is an odd bit of trivia.
Right.
So, and hey, good for them for doing their own driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Newhart.
Yeah, Tucker's Witch was good, but I don't know if it was quite sure of itself with the credits and the cat. I mean, it was sort of cool, but it just doesn't leave as much of an impression on me. So I agree. I think it should be Newhart.
Okay.
How's it going out there at the Stratford Inn? By the way, was there any
good.
reaction to this award here?
Oh, you're right. Because sorry.
It's easy to lose yourself in the flow of the baddies. I know, it's often like like you're not even really there.
Well, the innkeeper he sort of said, Thank you.
Yeah.
That was about it.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think a couple of the locals showed up and they seemed more excited. Although earlier they were kind of accusing me of something that I didn't do.
Ooh.
I misspoke in some way.
Oh.
They continually interpreted it as something else.
Oh, a bit of a faux pas on your part, huh?
Yes, and the more I tried to correct myself, the more I had to dig myself out.
Well, be careful up there, Mike, because I was going to warn you that if you start drawing a crowd with these baddies up there, the locals can get a little rowdy up there sometimes.
Yeah, especially if they get beer.
Yeah, yeah. Stay safe up there, and hopefully it's a joyous occasion though. This Newhart. I hope that the whole town can celebrate together.
Yeah, I think that a named town in Vermont should be happy that they won something. And Dick Loudon did agree that he's more of a dick than a Rick.
Okay, that's good.
He sort of shrugged and went off into his office. All right. So next is Outstanding Song. So these are songs that were performed in an episode in a show. So we have Mr. Bojangles by Sammy Davis Jr. from Night of 100 Stars. We have Oh No/Lady by Lionel Richie from Night of 100 Stars. The theme from Arthur by Christopher Cross and Dudley Moore from Night of 100 Stars. The disco medley in the fashion sequence from Night of 100 Stars. And the What's My Line song, also from Night of 100 Stars. So I guess these all cancel each other out, right?
Well, do they though? Do they? Boy, if they cancel each other out, we're in trouble for this category, aren't we? I mean, most of our variety was kind of concentrated on the one special, but what a lot of variety there was in that special.
I know. I'm not sure I could decide other than eliminating the disco one as quickly as possible.
That's fair enough. I'm glad that disco was represented once again in season 8 here and got a Baddies nod, but I'm okay with eliminating that. I think it's easy to mock the theme from Arthur, and it must have been the 532nd time that was performed in one fashion or another on TV that year.
Right. Yeah.
But there was something charming about it, just how sincere that was. I think you and I talked about how that segment really did work with Dudley Moore and Christopher Cross, with Dudley on piano and Christopher on the vocals, and it was pretty good, but I'd probably eliminate that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Bojangles that's one of his signature numbers, and he did a great job on it, and arguably performative highlight of the show. I can't eliminate that. I talked about the What's My Line song. I love that so much. It maybe went on a little bit too long, but I love that whole sequence. Now, the song itself, maybe you could nitpick a little bit with it, but I thought they did a pretty good job of combining a ton of different, seemingly unrelated television stars into one musical number. And, of course, you had the delivery of stars like Hal Linden and John Schneider carrying the whole thing. And as far as Lionel Richie, I'm not a big fan of Lady, but I think I mentioned, I've told you that Oh No is one of the best songs he's written. I really like that. My only regret, I would have rather seen just that and maybe like the full version of that song, which I think, if memory serves me, that was truncated in order to do kind of the medley there.
Yeah.
But it was a great performance. So, those are just some of my thoughts. So other than eliminating a couple of songs, I don't know if I have a real strong opinion right now.
Yeah, this is tough. Other than the disco one, it's hard for me because as you mentioned, the Sammy performance is great. The Lionel Richie, I obviously have some loyalty there, but I also love the theme from Arthur. I maybe was not as keen on the What's My Line song as you. On the other hand, I can recognize the accomplishment involved in writing it and corralling all those stars and possibly having to rewrite things if people dropped out or got shifted around and just the sustaining the energy of it for the 3 hours that it was on.
Right. Yes.
So I can't eliminate that either, and I don't think you would. The Lionel Richie, I wish Oh No had been longer, or yeah, I kind of agree with that. It was nice seeing and kind of seemed to me unique song choices, but I'm not necessarily pushing it either. And Arthur, yeah, I could eliminate that. I did enjoy that performance and their interplay and everything, and I liked the song. So I guess for me, really, it comes down to Sammy or the What's My Line. I don't know. You can convince me of the What's My Line.
Actually, one thing I'll say about Mr. Bojangles is I grew up hearing that song way too many times on AM or light FM radio, but the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band version, which I really didn't like at all.
Uh-huh.
I found that song annoying, and it took. I knew that there were other versions of it, of course, but I think it really took this performance and seeing this in context that really kind of rescued the song for me and kind of turned me around on the song itself. I've got to give Sammy Davis extra credit for. I don't know if it might be strong to say steal the show, but to stand out like that in such a star-studded night. I mean, a night when you had mega stars like Doug Hennig,
Right.
that he was able to really leave such a mark.
And the Doobie Brothers.
And the Doobie Brothers, yes, who sadly weren't nominated in this category,
Well, they can only
despite
blame
winning
themselves.
multiple baddies before.
It's all about song choice.
Yeah. And speaking of song choice, I would have liked to have seen maybe something a little up tempo from Lionel Richie to go along if he was going to do two songs. So that's kind of why I maybe eliminate him. But boy, I love that whole song. It's a tough call for me between Mr. Bojangles and the What's My Line song. But the fact that I don't really know what the What's My Line song is, it kind of diminishes it for me a little bit.
Yeah, the thing I would put it in its favor is that it's so specific to that show and to TV.
Right.
Or entertainment.
Whereas you could even argue, and you could have video evidence that that wasn't even the most memorable version of Mr. Bojangles that Sammy Davis Jr. did.
Probably not. Yeah.
You know, it wasn't his signature performance of that song.
Yeah.
Whereas I can't remember ever hearing this particular "What's My Line" song on anything else.
I assume this was the only time.
Which is kind of surprising. You'd think that Hal Linden would have made maybe done a one-man show and thrown it in there.
Well, I guess if you could change. Since all the lyrics are specific to who's on stage, you would either have to constantly change them or take all those people with you.
Did you say who's on stage? Is that true?
Correct.
That's who's on stage?
Yes. Exactly.
Well, let me tell you this. Here's another thing that might help determine it. Was Gavin MacLeod involved in Mr. Bojangles?
Not that I could see.
Was he involved in the What's My Line number?
Yes.
Well, there you go. And he acquitted himself very well, I thought.
He did. He's a fine singer.
There were maybe more emotional impact from Mr. Bojangles, but there were more surprises from the What's My Line. And the more I think about it, the What's My Line number sort of epitomized the nature of television. And I don't know, I think the more I think about it, it really sums up the spirit of Battle of the Network shows to me. So I guess I might lean towards that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think those are good reasons for that. I did feel it was a little long, and there were some questionable choices of not allowing people to sing, but maybe those people chose not to sing.
It's possible.
Behind the scenes. So.
And out of all the many numbers in that show, I think the What's My Line is up there as to what I would want to watch again would be that sequence.
All right. Well, congratulations to Hal Linden, Michelle Lee, Gavin MacLeod, John Schneider, that lady from Too Close for Comfort.
Nancy Dussault, yeah.
Yeah. Who was the other person on the panel?
Wasn't it
just three?
Her, Gavin MacLeod, and Michelle Lee, right?
That was it. Okay.
And then John Schneider came and sat down next to Hal.
Okay. And now I think we're going to take a little break and have something here for you to listen to while we take care of some business.
Yeah, and you know what? Without at the risk of giving too much information, I've been stuck kind of relying on all the Brady kids to get out of that bathroom upstairs because I've been kind of avoiding the other one. So I got to take my opportunity now.
I know we gave Mike Brady an award for being a Mike, but come on, man, a guest bathroom at least.
Yeah, well, he doesn't get a Frank Lloyd Wright award. He gets a Mike award, but
I mean, I guess we assume there are at least 3 bathrooms in that house, right?
Mike and Carol have one.
Yeah, Mike and Carol have one. The kids have one. And Alice must have one.
Yeah.
God, I hope Alice
has. I hope so too. You know what? I might go walk around the house a little bit and
yeah,
and maybe see if Alice is around, and maybe she'll whip up some of her famous chocolate chip cookies for me too. And I'll report back.
Yeah, I actually am going to have to get George Utley to double check something on my microphone here.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I hope there are some good snacks around here too.
Yeah, you could always go next door to the Minuteman again if you need something. Mystery snacks.
Yes. All right.
In Memoriam, Joe Ruby, Tom Seaver, Kevin Dobson, Diana Rigg, Road Warrior Animal, Jay Johnstone, Mac Davis, Tom Kennedy, The Amazing Randy, Alex Trebek, Paul Horning, Herb Solo, Abby Dalton, David Prowse, Warren Berlinger, Pat Patterson, David Lander, Charlie Pride, Rod Perry, William Link, Dawn Wells, Tanya Roberts, John Riley, Tommy Lasorda, Don Robertson, Peter Mark Richmond, Gregory Sierra, Larry King.
Welcome back to part 2 of the BATTY Awards. And this is the part where we get into what we call the big categories, the ones you might recognize from other award shows. But first, we have our second listener voted award, and Rick's going to read the nominees for that.
Thank you, Mike. And this one is Outstanding Trio. And again, our Battle of the Network Show's Facebook group members and listeners of the podcast voted for this award. And the nominees were the Brady Boys from the Brady Bunch, the Brady Girls from the Brady Bunch, Huey, Dewey, and Louie for DuckTales, Larry, his brother Daryl, and his other brother Daryl from Newhart, and the trio of Doug Henning, Maureen Stapleton, and Ricky Schroeder from Night of 100 Stars. So fine trios all, and Mike, who is the winner of this one?
Well, this one came down to the last minute, and it looked like we might have had a tie, but then Larry, his brother Daryl, and his other brother Daryl ran away with it at the end.
Wow.
Yes, narrowly beating Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Ooh.
And both Daryl and Larry's other brother Daryl are here to accept the award. And
Oh, that's great.
yeah, they'd like to say a little something here. So here you go, guys. All right, a big hand for Larry, for Daryl, for all three.
Yeah.
But especially for Daryl and Larry's other brother Daryl.
Yeah, very nice of them to show up and accept the award like that.
It's a very succinct.
Yeah. We didn't have to worry about the orchestra having to play them off, did we?
No.
I feel pretty good about that one. I can't argue with that choice.
No, I think they were all good choices, and I honestly expected more competition between the Brady factions, but
Well,
I believe the girls sort of, the girls were the only people not to get a vote.
oh,
Ouch.
that's a shame.
Jan's fault.
Yeah, of course. The episode that we talked about wasn't really a showcase for the Brady girls, so that may
This
have
is true.
affected it too.
But, congratulations to everyone for getting nominated, and thank you again for our listeners on our Facebook group for chiming in with your votes and participating in the Batty fun.
Yeah, and this might be a good time to mention that during our little break, some of the family here at the Brady house is kind of filed in, and it turned out, yeah, a lot of them have been following along. They were actually in the backyard, kind of being disrespectful, but they were testing some new a tape recorder Greg had and was playing with, and they had the tape recorder. Anyways, to make a long story short, I saw a real touching moment as I missed the beginning of it, but I think Greg was a little disappointed that he didn't win his award, and I don't want to mischaracterize it, but I think he was a little upset that after all he did to him in the episode, Bobby had won multiple awards.
Yeah.
But, Mike, I thought, showed a lot of class. He put his hand on his shoulder and pointed out that, he lost an award too.
Mm-hmm.
And, they can't win them all, I think is what Mike said. And that really resonated with Greg. And I think the whole family is on board now and in a good mood. So it was good parenting.
Did he also take an opportunity to remind everyone that, yes, Old Man Ribbit losing just reinforces the idea that you have to follow the rules of the bet.
Exactly. Yes. We've learned a lot of lessons here.
Yeah.
And because everybody's home now, I wasn't able to look around as much as I wanted to. So I think some of the mysteries of the Brady house will remain mysteries for now.
Okay. As long as you managed to take care of what you needed to.
Yes, I did. Yes, I'm all good.
Okay, let's go into our first category here, Outstanding Supporting Female. We have Julia Duffy as Stephanie from Newhart, Nita Talbot from Columbo, Anne Francis from Columbo, Ann B. Davis from, it says Columbo, but I'm assuming the Brady Bunch. I don't remember Ann B. Davis being on Columbo.
You don't remember that episode where she and Robert Culp teamed up? They were trying to eliminate each other. It was a rare double murder on Columbo.
Barbara Barry from Tucker's Witch. Fences from Poor Devil. Rue McClanahan from Darkroom. And Hope Schwartz from The Brady Bunch.
Well, I'll say this. I don't think, I think people listening to the Betty's podcast are going to be talking about Ann B. Davis a lot more than if the committee had not made that snafu and misidentified her. So
Yeah,
that might be her highlight here. But, well, it's an interesting group.
it is.
I've made clear my, how do we want to say it, my non-fandom of Barbara Barry.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would eliminate Rue McClanahan just because that role was so small.
Yeah,
Because the segment was like 2 minutes long.
she did a lot with tiny amount, but
She did. Worthy nominee, but not who I would consider the winner. Never a huge fan of the Stephanie character, but Julie Duffy is great in that role and was funny in the episode, the Thanksgiving for the Memories episode that we discussed. I would look at a sleeper, a couple of sleepers here. Fences, I was very impressed with in Poor Devil.
And what's the actress's name?
Well, the actress's name is just Fences. She goes by, one name, like Cher, Madonna, Fences. Madeline Rue, I believe is her
Madeline
name.
Rue, that's right.
I look at a dark horse here. I would like just to consider Nita Talbot in Columbo. And Anne Francis didn't make it through the whole episode, let's just say. But I think we were both impressed by Nita Talbot kind of making the most of what could have been a relatively insignificant role.
Yeah.
And I thought she did a really good job.
The roommate who sort of flummoxed Columbo a little bit.
Yeah, there was something off kilter about her.
Yes.
And had several interesting scenes in that episode. I really liked her, and I think at first glance she would be my favorite. Although Hope Schwartz was good as Greg's date that was ruined, and Francis was good too. I liked her performance in there too. Yeah, I mean that's what are your thoughts? Those are my preliminary thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I agree about Rue McClanahan, and I disagree about the no. Yeah, I think I generally agree with what you're saying, and it's making it actually more difficult to decide here. I mean, I like Barbara Barry and Tucker's Witch, but she's certainly not all that important to that episode. Other than she had that one really good scene talking about her late husband.
We didn't really talk a lot about Ann B. Davis's actual role as Alice. And I hate to bite the hand that feeds me because I did have some of her cookies during our break, and they were great, fresh out of the oven too. But that it wasn't a showcase episode for her.
No, and so between her and Hope Schwartz, if you had to choose one from that episode,
I more remember Hope Schwartz and just her being so put upon and annoyed with the whole situation. She really was probably a much better sport than we had a right to expect. But and I didn't really think of the nepotism so much in that, so I don't really think that was a factor there. She earned her spot on that and did well. So
yeah,
I would go with her over Alice in that one actually.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I liked Fences, and Stephanie is an annoying character, but that's her purpose. And yeah, I like what you said about Nita Talbot, though. She did a lot with what she had there.
I think it's tough for that type of role to not be totally overshadowed by the villain and, of course, Columbo himself. And yet, I thought what she did really well was make a memorable characterization while still being firmly grounded in the show and interacting well, actually, with the Columbo character.
Yeah, and poor Anne Francis didn't get to interact with him at all.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. I mean, interacting with Will Geer in several scenes is not much of a consolation prize, in my opinion.
No.
Although she didn't, I like the disdain she showed for Nimoy's Barry Mayfield character was good. I mean, she was great in the episode. It's a tough call here. I might have to eliminate Fences. She had a great, kind of a weird chemistry with the Clugger, but not enough to win this, I think.
And she gets lost a little bit in the episode just because there's so much else going on.
Right.
All right. So right now we're down to Julia Duffy, Nita Talbot, and Hope Schwartz. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I guess we could go ahead and eliminate Anne Francis because I feel so strongly about the Nita Talbot, and I think I would go ahead and eliminate Hope Schwartz too.
Yeah, somebody just passed me a message from Leonard Nimoy saying he agrees we should eliminate Anne Francis.
Oh, I don't know if I like the sound of that. We're going to be complicit in something, or what's going on here?
Just from the category.
Okay, all right.
I'm not wearing gloves. Are you wearing gloves?
I don't have any gloves, and
it's Vermont. It's a little chilly, but I'm inside.
I can't help but feeling if I were involved in anything more than just eliminating her from the category, that Mike and Carol would be really disappointed in me.
I think so.
So I'm glad you clarified that.
That's like the second rule after don't play ball indoors, right?
Yeah.
Don't murder people. Okay, and you said Hope Schwartz too, so
yeah, I think we.
So we're down to Stephanie or Nita Talbot.
It's tough here. I think we're going on a standout guest performance versus an ongoing memorable character.
Yes.
Who did well in the episode and kind of did what you would expect her to do. So it's a really tough choice for me.
Well, it's even tougher for me because she's my maid for the weekend.
That's right.
But you know what? You've made a hard choice by eliminating Alice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make that hard choice. I think you made such a persuasive argument, and I remember enjoying that performance so much from Nita Talbot that I think we should go with her.
All right, that's good. It's a tough night for domestics, but
Yes.
I think that's good for Edith Talbot, and I think she deserves it, so I feel good about that one, too.
All right, moving on.
Okay, well, this is Outstanding Lead Female, and we got some good ones in this one, Mike. Let me just read them off here. Connie Selica from Greatest American Hero, Mary Fran from Newhart, Florence Henderson from The Brady Bunch, Catherine Hicks from Tucker's Witch, and Jocelyn Brando for Darkroom. Of course, it was an anthology series, but she was kind of the lead female in one of the segments we talked about. What do you think about this group, Mike?
Well, Jocelyn Brando, that's terrifying. I might have glanced over that one when I read the list earlier. It startled me now when you read her name. Because I just thought of her head under that bed.
Yeah, that's a thing that works in her favor? Or
Yeah.
maybe outstanding is the wrong word for that.
She's a bit of an outlier here, I think. Yeah, at risk of something terrifying happening later, I would take her out of the category. Also, Mary Fran, I think. I think it's between the other three.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we're going to have to consider the fact that the Brady Bunch episode we talked about wasn't really a showcase for Carol. I guess it was, though. She had the storyline with Mike.
Yeah, what was their wager again?
It was Mike they were going to his reunion.
Oh, right.
And they had a bet that she could figure out who it was that called him Bobo.
Yeah.
Just by looking through the yearbook because she knew his type.
Right.
So that actually was a pretty good episode for it. It showed off the playful chemistry as opposed to the more mature chemistry that Catherine Hicks had with BATTY Award winner Rick Tucker, as played by Tim Matheson.
Yeah.
And Connie Selica, of course, what more can you say about Connie Selica without possibly angering one of our best listeners? Yeah, John Tesh, too.
Oh. Well, I can say whatever I want.
Well, go ahead. Yeah, please.
No, but she was. We praised her in that episode especially for holding her own with those two guys, and being written well too. That she was essential to the story. It wasn't just about being the bridge between them, but she did do that too.
Yeah, we really liked the fact that they made that. I mean, speaking of trios, that they really made the team feel like a team and a cohesive trio in that particular episode, which is due in no small part to her performance.
Yeah, and I thought she was good at the sort of the humor of it too, being annoyed with them and all of that. And yeah, I thought the other two were great too. It's tough. We talked about how much Catherine Hicks did with that role compared to Kim Cattrall, and sort of made her unique, and she had that great chemistry with Tim Matheson and Florence Henderson. I know I definitely praised her in that when we talked about the Brady Bunch as like a standout for me.
Didn't you have a problem with her hair, though?
Oh, I hated her hair, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Florence chose that hairdo for herself or just it was the Times or the hair people did. But
it was the Times, the New York Times, you think, or the
New York
Los
Times.
Angeles Times? One of those two chose her.
Yeah.
Wow.
They had a poll.
Oh wow.
And it was confused. Like some people wanted it long and some people wanted it short, and they just went for both.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah. That's how big the Brady Bunch was.
Yeah. Okay.
The paper of record cared about it.
Yeah. It pushed Watergate off the front pages to
That's right.
to settle that. I would eliminate Catherine Hicks, to be honest.
Okay.
It was a good performance. I'm glad we gave it some praise, but to me it's just not quite in the league of the other two. In fact, I think I have a lean.
Okay.
I think I lean towards Connie Selica.
Oh, okay. Well, I can accept that lean.
Yeah.
I might have been leaning the other way slightly, just maybe because of the iconic nature of Florence Henderson. We're talking about that episode, and she was great in that episode.
Right. I mean, that's one of the things that we generally go by. We generally give more stock to the specific episode, and that kind of pushes it over just a little bit for me for Connie Selica, though I do give respect to Florence Henderson, but I wouldn't be mad at either one of them, with either one of them being selected.
I think I can go with Connie Selica.
Yeah.
And, we should award her for more than just her hair.
Yeah.
Nothing against her hair, of course. We made that clear, but she's more than her hair.
She is.
And Florence Henderson is more than her bad hairdo.
That's right. Exactly.
All right. Congratulations again. Another multi-winner here.
All right.
Okay. So next we have the Outstanding Supporting Male. Leonard Nimoy as Dr. Barry Mayfield in Columbo. Tom Poston as George Utley in Newhart. Will Geer as that doctor in Columbo. Bill Morey as the cop in Tucker's Witch. Pat Buttram as the creepy guy in Darkroom. And David Carradine as the meal for the monster in Darkroom.
Yes, the slightly less creepy guy in Darkroom.
Yes. I don't know about you, but to me it seems like this category is a little less competitive than the female one.
It's tough. I think. I mean, Will Geer's as a guest star, and Bill Murray it was fine for what he was doing, but not exactly a standout recurring role. Even
Yeah.
in Darkroom was a short segment. It was nice, but to me, it comes down to Nimoy and Tom Poston, who did have, again, kind of going back to the Newhart discussion. He had a memorable, enduring regular character, and he's going up against a strong guest star.
Yeah. I hate to keep doing this to my friends here in Vermont, but I really think it's Nimoy.
I do too, and I think you got to break this gently to George Utley because I can see him really being offended and they're just hurt at least by this.
Yeah, I think he's already walking out of the room. He looks a little sad, but then he always looks sad. So
That's true. I hope he already looked at your microphone and took care of that already.
yeah, he did. I hope he didn't rig it with anything.
Oh my.
That doesn't seem his style, though. His style is to be more, passive aggressive. I think. Honestly, if Dr. Mayfield were around, I would definitely be afraid of angering him because he would come up with something.
Yeah, well, we kind of did the dirty work for him because we eliminated 3 or 4 people before he even needed to lift a finger.
Yeah, or arch an eyebrow.
Yeah, it's tough to reward Barry Mayfield again for his reprehensible behavior, and he's so smug about it too. But
yes,
but I can't really pick against him here.
No, I can't either. All right. Well, we'll send the award to his prison.
Yeah.
We might just have to send a certificate. I don't think he can accept any metal or sharp objects. But
No, I would hope not.
all right.
Well, okay. Let's move on to the other major male acting category, and this is Outstanding Male, more of a lead role variety. And, we got a good group here. Okay, the nominees are Barry Williams for The Brady Bunch, Robert Reed for The Brady Bunch, Peter Falk for Columbo, Tim Matheson for Tucker's Witch, William Catt for Greatest American Hero, Robert Culp, also in this Outstanding Male category for Greatest American Hero, interestingly, Bob Newhart from Newhart, James Coburn from Darkroom, and also from Darkroom, Cyril O'Reilly, who was in the same segment with Jocelyn Brando. So that's our Outstanding Males. What are your early thoughts here, Mike?
Well, I think the darkroom people we can eliminate. One, this James Coburn being in this category and as himself might raise some questions, but I've raised enough questions with the committee already.
That's right. You've got enough enemies there in Vermont. I don't know if you need any back here.
Right. Yeah, I think we'd take those out. I do like all these other people. I mean, I know there's one that I lean towards, but that's all I'll say for now.
Yeah, I think, boy, I mean, we've got some actual legends here in this category. I hate to go against a fellow Rick and such an outstanding one to boot, but I think I could go ahead and eliminate Tim Matheson. He was good, but again, I just don't have the love for Tucker's Witch. It's not strong enough for me to propel some of these nominees to wins in these big categories. So I would eliminate Tim Matheson. I've also been told that Greg and Mike Brady are here, and they've said that, they're okay if neither one of them wins. They just want a fair competition, and they just hope that the best man ultimately gets the baddie. So I thought that was very classy of them. And that makes it a little bit easier for me to eliminate them, actually.
That is very classy of them, though. Very fair-minded.
I would probably go with Robert Reed over Barry Williams if I had to, but I think I'm okay with just eliminating both of them as well. However, it gets tougher for me from there. I have trouble voting against Bob Newhart for anything, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
We love Greatest American Hero, Catt and Culp, an outstanding team. The show is so dependent on their chemistry and their teamwork that actually might work against them in a weird way for me. Peter Falk is Columbo. Of course, you got the guest that we've pointed out, but boy, we love that performance so much. It's tough.
My lean is Peter Falk.
Yeah.
Because he's so memorable and so good, and so specifically good in that episode. Giving a little more range to that character than he sometimes has, I think. Bob Newhart is great, but Bob Newhart just does what Bob Newhart does. There's not a huge difference between Dick Loudon and other Bob Newhart performances.
Right.
And maybe you could say that about Peter Falk, too, because he does have some mannerisms, but I think there's probably enough difference. I haven't seen him in enough other things to really make that call for sure. Columbo is Columbo, and I was just reading something last night about how much of the things we think of as being Columbo are things that he contributed, right down to his raincoat.
Wow.
And then William Catt and Robert Culp are great, but I think when you get Peter Falk involved, it's for me, it's him.
I agree, and I think you spoke well on that. I agree with what you're saying about Bob Newhart, and to me, I think the bottom line is that Columbo is one of the most memorable TV characters ever. And if you have Columbo and Peter Falk in a category, I mean, how can you go against such an outstanding character? We've got some good ones here, but it would take a real bona fide mega icon to knock off Columbo. I'd go Peter Falk too.
Okay.
And he was so good in that episode and so good in the series, so that would be my choice as well.
All right, and frankly, if Barry Mayfield won and Columbo didn't.
Ooh, I hadn't even considered that, but
Bad optics.
that would not. Yes, bad optics, exactly.
Okay, well, we're down to the last stretch here already. And the next category is Best Episode, and we always like to make clear this is the best episode of television that we talked about during the season, not the best episode of the podcast. So again, we're not awarding ourselves or rewarding ourselves, we're rewarding what we talked about.
Yes, we'll leave that to you, the listeners, to reward us and award us.
Yeah.
Feel free to do so.
Right. And the nominees in this category are The Brady Bunch for The Big Bet, DuckTales for Once Upon a Dime, Columbo for Stitch and Crime, 60 Minutes from March Whatever, 1982, The Tucker's Witch Pilot, which of course there were two versions of, Greatest American Hero, The Shock Will Kill Ya, Darkroom, Catnip / The Partnership / The Daisies, Wild World of Sports 25th Anniversary Special, Little Rascals Christmas Special, Newhart, Thanksgiving for the Memories, Poor Devil, and Night of 100 Stars.
Mike, that was an outstanding job reading, and you had to read
Thank
so
you.
many things there that I wish I could give you a glass of Alice's delicious lemonade here, but unfortunately we are on different coasts here, so hopefully you can whip up something up there.
I've got some apple cider.
Okay, that's good. That sounds good.
A hot toddy.
Yeah.
I don't know what a hot toddy is, but I'm sure they drink them in Vermont.
You're going to find out. And I've been told I had, this is really nice too. I mean, everybody here has been so welcoming, but Jan ran down to the library. Actually, she went on her bike, and she found out that 60 Minutes episode aired on March 13th, 1982.
Oh, good. Thank you, Jan.
Yeah, which is pretty impressive, considering that episode aired 7 years after that show went off the air. But that just goes to show you how accommodating they are for me as a humble guest in their abode. So now, speaking of that, I think the Brady Bunch stays in contention. I think we got to start eliminating pretty quickly here. I would eliminate the 60 Minutes, which is good. We had a good, interesting discussion about that. I would eliminate that. I would eliminate Poor Devil.
For sure.
I would eliminate Darkroom.
Yeah.
I would eliminate the Tucker's Witch pilot. That was kind of an unprecedented approach we did there, doing two versions of the same episode, but neither one of them is strong enough for me here. I would also eliminate the Little Rascals Christmas special. I enjoyed it. It gave me a lot of holiday cheer, got me ready for Christmas and even, but not enough here. And the Wide World 25th Anniversary special, if I didn't already eliminate that, I would eliminate that as well. Would you agree with those deletions?
Yes.
So that leaves us with Brady Bunch, DuckTales, Columbo, Greatest American Hero, and Newhart. Now, to me, it comes down to two episodes that I love for different reasons. Maybe three. It's tough for me to eliminate the Big Bet Brady Bunch, but I wouldn't even necessarily consider it the best Brady Bunch episode, just kind of representative, I thought. So in this category, I would be fine with eliminating that too.
Okay, I concur. So it's just Columbo, DuckTales, or Newhart.
I don't think we've eliminated Greatest American Hero yet.
Oh, Greatest American Hero.
Only if the baddies can these four shows be in contention for the same award.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Mike?
They're definitely fine episodes of all of them. I think the Newhart, had a lot of great Newhart things in it. So I can't say it wasn't representative. Certainly was, and was funny, and it was mildly touching.
And it has a special place in my heart because I believe that was a Thanksgiving episode that we actually released on Thanksgiving.
Yes, that's true.
Which is nice to celebrate the holiday with all of our listeners that way.
And, the DuckTales stood out among DuckTales episodes, and I think we both enjoyed just a lot of different aspects of it. It was funny, and it was also touching, and also just had a lot of cool different time periods and things. And Greatest American Hero, we talked about the good acting and the conflict, and it was humorous but also dramatic, and did have bad special effects, but that's par for the course for that show. And it's certainly a standout episode of the series. And then the Columbo episode we effused about a lot, and it's great.
You know what it kind of comes down to for me is, again, we're not celebrating our podcast episode. However, I think one of the most fun episodes that I had recording this year was Greatest American Hero, just because we hadn't talked, we talked about it a little bit, but I think it was something where we were just so enthusiastic and just so glad that the show held up as well as it did.
Yeah.
That for me, it made for a really fun episode, and I think we had a lot to talk about. And I hope it came through. And we had a great example of the show to work with there. However, as an episode of television, I think Stitch and Crime just stands out, just on its own by any regard. And I had a lot of fun doing that one too, of course. But just if we're going on just the best episode we talked about, it would be tough for me to pick against that, which is maybe one of my favorite Columbo's show that is really good itself. So for me, I'm kind of leaning towards Columbo.
I am too, and for pretty much the same reasons you said. And I think, I said this earlier, I think when Nimoy won the Best Villain category that I feel like all the other shows in my mind or episodes were fighting with Columbo the whole season. Like it was almost predestined.
I think we had a feeling like as soon as we had talked about
Yeah.
that and just had so many great things to say about it. I see what you mean there. And by the way, we did eliminate Night of 100 Stars, right? I'm not sure if we did, but can we agree that we should?
Yes.
I mean, I loved it, but I'm not going to vote it for best episode.
Yeah. Okay. Columbo. Let's say that.
Well, congratulations to Columbo, A Stitch in Crime.
Okay.
Well, that leaves us with our last competitive category of the evening. And, get ready for some of these conflicts again, because Mike and I are both kind of de facto representing a couple of these series. But just for clarity, this is really the best show is the best series that we discussed on the podcast. So we eliminate things like Poor Devil because it was a movie and Night of 100 Stars because it was a special. Same with the Little Rascals Christmas special. So we're talking about ongoing series here. And with that said, the nominees are The Brady Bunch, Wide World of Sports, Columbo, DuckTales, The Greatest American Hero, 60 Minutes, Tucker's Witch, Darkroom, and Newhart. There you have it, the best show nominees.
And the winner is Tucker's Witch.
What? Wow, that was quick.
Yeah. No.
There's some witchcraft involved there.
Yeah. I would say we could eliminate Tucker's Witch and Darkroom.
I will concur there.
I feel like 60 Minutes and Wide World of Sports are similar and that they're institutions. I don't know if I would personally keep them in, but I'm not against keeping them in either.
I think we'd eliminate, especially Wide World. For me, Wide World is something of its time, and I think part of what we're doing is we're talking about what it's good to revisit. And Wide World, for one thing, it's tough to find complete episodes of it, so I would go ahead and eliminate that.
I imagine it's probably wildly inconsistent too.
Yeah.
60 Minutes is probably more consistent, but I could definitely eliminate that. It's not like I want to go watch news programs all the time.
Right. I agree with that. Yeah, I think we can lose 60 Minutes.
So that leaves us with The Brady Bunch, Columbo, DuckTales, Greatest American Hero, and Newhart again. And I love Newhart. I like The Greatest American Hero quite a lot. I enjoyed what I saw of DuckTales. The Brady Bunch, of course, I have mixed feelings about.
Yes, you do.
And Columbo, I love Columbo. And we already kind of talked about that episode in particular and Peter Falk. And every episode I've seen, I've enjoyed. So I think Greatest American Hero is probably a little inconsistent.
As much as I love that show, it's tough to win this category, whereas I don't think you can really find too many bad episodes of Columbo, especially, the 1970s version, certainly not.
Yeah.
I love The Brady Bunch. It's kind of like a favorite show in a weird way, but I'm not going to lobby for it in this category. And I kind of made clear my sort of conflicting feelings about Newhart. As much as I like the show, it's just not an A-level show to me.
Yeah, I feel like between my Brady Bunch conflict and your Newhart conflict, those two might be in the same boat.
I think that's fair.
And yet again, we'll be rude to our hosts, but luckily we chose reasonably polite hosts.
Well, it's like the time that Greg was the judge in a cheerleading contest, and he was Marcia and a girl he was dating were the competitors, but he wound up choosing the other one, the third one, he was neither dating nor related to, and he said, well, she was the best candidate.
And then did he end up dating her?
Well, that I don't know. He gave me a sly kind of a wink. Well, we'll talk later. That might be a tale for the attic later. I'm not sure about that.
Oh, man. Barry Williams should start a podcast called Greg Brady's Tales from the Attic.
He should. Yes, please do so, Barry.
This is Greg Brady here from the attic.
The Bradys are just such good sports that I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's running away with it, but I think it's Columbo.
Yeah, and I think it's a show that I think you and we didn't really watch it a lot during the actual era, but it's something we've more discovered and latched onto, for the show and before that, and for professional reasons too. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think it's something, and it says something about how good the show is, that it's not that it's a bad thing, but it's not nostalgia driving it. It's just we generally are looking at it now and loving watching it, and we could probably be happy just picking out any episode and just sitting down and watching it. So, and of course, we've already said the episode we covered was outstanding as well. So I agree with you.
How many? Columbo ended up winning 5
tonight. Well,
6.
Brady was early. The Bradys were running away with the awards early, but Columbo's made a really strong run here.
You got best show, best episode, outstanding male, outstanding supporting male, and outstanding supporting female.
Yeah, and it didn't have a nominee, an outstanding female, or it might have won that too.
That's right, yeah. Wow.
It's almost Cheers-esque, its domination of
Yes.
the latter half of the awards here.
All right.
But I'm okay with that. I think it's deserved.
Yes. And that leaves us with one final award, in a way our favorite award to give out. This is named after the great Robert Pine, the Robert Pine Genius Award. And we give this to someone whose work we like to see. We like to see them in anything. Or last time it was a writer. It was Jeffrey Scott who wrote Spider-Woman cartoon. But someone who inspires us, I guess. And often someone maybe a little more supporting than this year's winner, but we still think he's very worthy. And I'll let Rick tell you who that winner is.
Oh, why, thank you. I'm honored, always honored to talk about any genius and to celebrate the great Robert Pine. This year's recipient of the Robert Pine Genius Award is the great Robert Culp, from Greatest American Hero and many other TV and movie roles, but really one of our favorites, especially here for his work as FBI Agent Bill in Greatest American Hero.
Yeah, just funny but also dramatic and capable of pathos, and just a joy to see. And of course, as we mentioned, the only person involved in I Spy.
Yes, right.
But also a versatile, he also a writer and director too, and worked in TV and film, and had a good long career, and of course appeared on Columbo many times as various villains.
Yeah, this almost kind of makes up for not choosing a Culp episode for Columbo, I guess. He's been responsible for many great scenarios over the years in television, and I think one of the defining characteristics of a genius winner is if you see his name in like the TV Guide listings, are you going to say, oh, I got to watch that? And I think Culp definitely is one of those guys.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to the late Robert Culp for his Genius Award, and congratulations to all our winners.
Yeah.
Especially the Bradys and Columbo.
Yeah, I think those were the big winners tonight.
And Bobby Brady, and Connie Selleck. It's not often we have someone win a couple awards in one episode, in one award show.
Correct, and she may be the first two-time female winner in the same baddies, but we'll have the crack research team look into that.
Good. In our vast archives.
Yes, but that may well be the case. Yeah, I think it was, as I like to call it, Mike, it's the biggest night in retro TV podcasting. And I think once again, it's been one heck of a spectacle.
Yes, for sure. And again, I'd like to thank the people here at the Stratford Inn and the people of Vermont. Also the people at the TV station in Vermont. They were going to let me film from there, or record from there, but something went wrong. They did help make this connection possible. And a certain mailman and a certain accountant from Boston who came down for the show.
That's great. You like to see that.
Yeah, and I hope sober up before they drive back to Boston. But
yes, it's a bit of a haul, so yeah, maybe they could stay overnight.
And I'll say thank you to the Bradys for myself. And again, I apologize for not being as keen on your home decor or your fashion or Carol's hair.
I'll say on their behalf that's very gracious of you. And speaking of gracious, I want to thank them for being such good hosts, and they've really made me feel welcome here. I've had a good time, and I think the fun has only just begun, Mike, because in addition to the checkers match, I think we're going to do some like a potato sack race.
Oh, good.
In the backyard today or tomorrow, and I think there's going to be a lot of activities going on. There's always something going on in this household, so I'm just going to maybe hang out here a few days before I come back out there and just kind of bask in this a little bit.
Right. Sounds good. I'm sure the weather's nice.
Oh, yeah. It's beautiful out here.
The AstroTurf is nice and cool under your feet.
It feels good, and it looks good. It's nice and shiny. Even went on the swing set a little bit and tried to do a few chin-ups and I didn't want to get into anything, so I kind of did it at my own time, but just to see what it was like.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it's harder than it looks.
I'm sure.
You could easily overestimate the amount you could do on that swing set.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's close up the baddies here, and season 9 will be here hopefully a little sooner than it took between 7 and 8.
I think that's fair to say.
And we do have some bonus episodes on the way too in the meantime. So keep listening, we hope. And again, if you're interested, we have our Facebook group and a lot of fun conversations there, and you can search for us at Facebook and ask to join and answer a few easy questions, and come on in. And you can find us at battleofnetworkshows.com. We are on Twitter at BatNetShows, and Instagram at Battle of the Network Shows, and YouTube. If you feel like listening on YouTube, you can listen there.
That's right, and you can also look back at for past episodes there, and also the video playlist that we put up for each episode. And we'll have something up in some show notes for each episode. If this is your first time listening to us, feel free to go back through the archives, and if there's a show you'd like to hear us talk about, let us know. show in an upcoming season, but it's possible that we've already discussed it before. So yeah, take a look and enjoy, and we look forward to seeing you in our Facebook group.
And that's good night for me, and I do have another special good night from Larry's brother, Daryl.
This episode brought to you by the Stratford Inn, now offering on-site podcast facilities. This episode also brought to you by the Brady family. Our house is your house, unless you're Mike. This episode also brought to you by Season 9 of Battle of the Network shows, coming soon. Join us next time for another exciting episode of Battle of the Network shows. Learn more, leave feedback, and suggest future episodes at battleofthenetworkshows.com. Follow us on Twitter at BatNetShows, and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Battle of the Network shows.